Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, Coin Lovers and Treasure Hunters. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and often overlooked coins in American history, the 1973 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it may look like just another everyday coin you could easily find in your change, but let me tell you, some of these quarters are far from ordinary. Hidden among the millions produced are a few rare and valuable varieties that have sold for unbelievable prices, making collectors and lucky finders very, very happy. So if you've got some old quarters lying around or jingling in your pocket right now, you might want to take a closer look, because the 1973 Washington quarter could be worth a small fortune. The Washington quarter has a long and rich history that dates back to 1932, when it was first introduced to honor the 200th birthday of America's first president, George Washington. The design by sculptor John Flanagan became an instant classic, showing a proud profile of Washington on the obverse, while the reverse featured the bold eagle with spread wings, symbolizing strength and freedom. By the time 1973 rolled around, the coin had already gone through several changes, especially in its composition. In 1965, the U.S. Mint had stopped using silver in quarters, replacing it with a copper-nickel-clad mixture to reduce costs. That means all 1973 quarters were struck in copper-nickel-clad, except for some rare experimental errors and special mint varieties that have become incredibly valuable today. Now, the 1973 quarter was produced in three main U.S. mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint coins carry no mint mark, the Denver mint coins have a small D mint mark, and the San Francisco mint coins feature an S mint mark. The S mint coins were proof coins, specially made for collectors, struck on polished planchets using precision dies that bring out mirror-like details. While most of these are common and were sold in proof sets, some have hidden errors that make them truly unique and valuable. So what makes a 1973 quarter worth serious money? There are several things collectors look for. One of the most important is condition. Coins are graded on a scale from poor, P1, all the way up to mint state, MS 70, which represents a perfect, untouched coin. If you find a 1973 quarter that looks shiny, flawless, and has no signs of wear or scratches, it could be worth far more than its face value. Coins graded MS 67 or higher are extremely scarce and can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their mint mark and strike quality, but that's not all. Error coins are another huge factor in value. Minting errors like off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, or clipped planchets are highly sought after by collectors because they're one-of-a-kind mistakes. Imagine finding a 1973 quarter where the date or lettering appears doubled. That's known as a double die error, and it can increase the coin's value dramatically. Other rare types include coins struck on the wrong planchet, such as a quarter accidentally minted on a nickel or dime planchet. These errors are visually distinct and command massive premiums at auctions. Now, let's talk about some examples that have stunned the coin collecting world. Over the years, coin grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified a few 1973 Washington quarters in extremely high grades, coins that look practically brand new, with mirror-like luster and razor-sharp details. One of these coins, a 1973 D Washington quarter graded MS 68, sold for thousands of dollars. But the real treasures are those with unique errors or special mint conditions. These are the coins that serious collectors are willing to pay top dollar for, sometimes the kind of money that can completely change someone's life. To identify whether your 1973 quarter could be valuable, start by checking its mint mark. The D for Denver and the S for San Francisco are especially important to look for. Then, examine the coin under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Look for any doubling on the date, letters, or edges, and see if the coin looks slightly off-centered. Even a small error could turn an ordinary coin into a rare find. And if your quarter appears unusually thick, thin, or has a strange edge, that could be another sign that something special happened during minting. You might be wondering, why do some coins like these sell for such incredible amounts while others are only worth 25 cents? The answer lies in a mix of rarity, condition, demand, and luck. Millions of 1973 quarters were struck, but only a few survived in perfect or unique condition. The combination of time, handling, and natural wear makes pristine examples extremely rare. As collectors compete to own the best specimens, the prices naturally skyrocket. Coin collecting is all about discovering these hidden stories. Every coin tells a tale of its time, what America was like in 1973, how technology had advanced, and how the mint continued to refine its processes. Holding an old quarter connects you directly to that history, and realizing that one small piece of metal in your hand might be worth more than a car is an incredible feeling. It's this excitement, the thrill of discovery, that keeps collectors searching, sorting, and studying coins every day. So the next time you're counting change or checking through an old coin jar, don't ignore those quarters. That 1973 Washington quarter you've been overlooking might just be the hidden gem you've been searching for. Because among the ordinary, there's always a chance for something extraordinary, a coin that carries not just history, but immense value. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the United States Washington $quarter coin from 1985, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance but hides a story of history, rarity, and unexpected value that could turn a simple pocket change find into a collector's dream. You might have handled this coin countless times, maybe even spent it on a cup of coffee years ago, but what if I told you that some of these 1985 quarters are worth thousands, and one rare variety even reached an unbelievable price that will leave you stunned? So, grab your coins and stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you might just realize you've been carrying a hidden treasure all along. The Washington quarter has been a beloved piece of American coinage since it was first introduced in 1932. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, this coin proudly features the left-facing profile of George Washington, the nation's first president, along with the word "Liberty" across the top and the famous phrase, "In God We Trust." The reverse displays the majestic eagle with its wings spread, clutching a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both strength and peace. By the year 1985, the Washington quarter had already become an icon of American change, a coin used in everyday transactions yet deeply rooted in the country's history and pride. Unlike the early quarters that contained silver, the 1985 quarter was made of a copper-nickel-clad composition. The shift away from silver occurred in 1965 when the U.S. Mint sought a more cost-effective material due to the rising value of silver. While this change made quarters less precious in terms of metal content, it didn't eliminate the possibility of rarity, because even modern clad coins can become incredibly valuable due to minting errors, high-grade preservation, and unique historical quirks. And that's exactly what makes some 1985 quarters so fascinating and valuable today. The 1985 Washington quarter was minted at 3 major U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins minted in Philadelphia bear no mint mark, those from Denver carry the letter D, and the San Francisco mint coins are marked with an S. The San Francisco coins were proof issues, made with special polished dies and planchets that gave them a mirror-like finish, intended for collectors rather than for circulation. But sometimes, errors occur even in these proofs, creating anomalies that become priceless over time. Now, let's talk about what can make a 1985 Washington quarter worth far more than face value. The first and most obvious factor is condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, known as the Sheldon scale. A coin graded MS 70 is a perfect example, flawless, bright, and uncirculated. Most 1985 quarters you'll find in circulation show signs of wear, scratches, or dullness, but if you happen to find one that still has that bright mint luster, crisp details, and no visible wear, you could be looking at something worth serious money. Next are errors, and this is where things get exciting. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes happen. These errors can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's prize. Look out for double die errors, where the lettering, date, or design appears doubled. Some 1985 quarters were struck off-center, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent of metal visible. Those are incredibly valuable. Another type of error is a broad strike, where the coin expands beyond its normal rim, giving it a distorted look. And in very rare cases, some 1985 quarters were struck on the wrong planchet, such as on a nickel or dime planchet. These are among the most valuable error coins, and collectors are willing to pay thousands for them. Then there's the matter of strike quality and eye appeal. Even without errors, a sharply struck 1985 quarter with perfect surfaces and bright, original luster can fetch high prices, especially in top grades certified by grading authorities like PCGS or NGC. Coins graded above MS-67 are extremely hard to find because tiny marks or dullness from handling can drastically lower their grade. Proof versions with deep cameo contrast, where the frosted design stands out sharply against the mirror-like background, are also highly desirable. So, what exactly should you look for when examining a 1985 quarter in your collection or pocket change? Start by checking the mint mark just beside Washington's ponytail. Look closely for any doubling on the date, 1985, the word Liberty, or In God We Trust. If you notice that any of the letters or numbers appear slightly doubled or have shadow-like outlines, you might be holding a double-die variety. Next, check the rim. An off-center strike will show a partial design missing. Examine the coin's surface under good lighting or with a magnifying glass to spot scratches, die cracks, or other irregularities. Now, let's talk about the numbers that make collectors' hearts race. A regular 1985 quarter in average circulated condition is worth only its face value, 25 cents. But once you step into the realm of mint state coins and rare errors, the story changes dramatically. A 1985 D quarter in mint state 67 has been known to sell for hundreds of dollars, while examples in MS 68 have broken into the thousands. Error coins, depending on the rarity and visual appeal, can reach even higher prices, especially if authenticated and certified by professional grading companies. Coin collecting is more than just a hobby, it's a window into history, art, and mystery. Each coin is a story preserved in metal, a reminder of an era gone by. The 1985 Washington quarter carries that same spirit, a bridge between the nation's proud past and its evolving present. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just starting to explore the world of numismatics, it's always worth taking a closer look at the coins you handle daily. Because sometimes, the most ordinary-looking coin can be the rarest of them all. The hunt for valuable quarters is a journey of patience, curiosity, and sometimes pure luck. Imagine sorting through your spare change and finding one that stands out. The luster catches your eye, the strike looks sharper, or perhaps you notice something off about the design. That's how many rare coin discoveries begin. A simple glance turns into a life-changing moment. Today, we're going to take a fascinating journey into the world of the United States of America Washington $quarter coin from 1982. This coin is far more than just a 25-cent piece. It's a part of American history, a symbol of change in the minting process, and, for some lucky collectors, a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. So stay with me until the end, because the story behind this 1982 Washington quarter will surprise you, and you'll find out just how valuable one rare example turned out to be. The Washington quarter is one of the most familiar coins in American currency. It features the noble portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, based on the bust created by sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. Since its introduction in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, this coin has been a cornerstone of U.S. coinage. The obverse side proudly displays the profile of Washington with the words, Liberty, above and, In God We Trust, to the left, along with the mint year just below his neck. On the reverse, we see the majestic American eagle with its wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, framed by two olive branches, a design that beautifully balances the message of peace and strength. But what makes the 1982 Washington quarter special isn't just its patriotic design, it's the story behind its production. The early 1980s were a turbulent time for the U.S. Mint. Inflation, rising metal costs, and changes in minting technology meant that the production of coins went through several important shifts. In 1982, one of the most significant changes occurred. The mint decided to stop producing proof sets and uncirculated mint sets for that year. This means that there were no official collector sets issued directly by the mint in 1982, making high-quality examples of that year's coins much harder to find. The 1982 Washington quarter was struck at two main mints, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Coins from Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while those from Denver bear the letter D. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because of the cost-saving measures and changes in the minting process that year, many 1982 quarters show inconsistent strikes, variations in detail, and even errors that collectors go crazy for today. And since no mint sets were released, the few coins that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition are rare treasures that serious collectors are always on the hunt for. Now, let's talk about what makes some 1982 Washington quarters worth so much more than just face value. First, condition is everything. Coins are graded using the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. A coin that grades above MS 65, mint state, means it has a near-perfect surface, sharp details, and no signs of wear. Finding a 1982 quarter in such a condition is extremely difficult because most were used heavily in circulation for decades. So when a coin like that appears in top mint state condition, collectors are willing to pay a fortune for it. Another major factor is the presence of minting errors, and 1982 was full of them. Some of the most valuable 1982 quarters show doubling in the lettering or numbers, known as a double die. If you look closely at the words, "In God We Trust," or the date, 1982, and notice a faint shadow or duplicate image, that's a double die error, and that could mean your coin is rare and valuable. Other quarters from 1982 were struck off-center, giving them a crescent-like blank space where the design is missing. These types of errors are often worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on how extreme they are. Collectors also search for the rare transition errors or planchet mistakes. Because the U.S. Mint was constantly experimenting with metal composition and strike pressure, it's possible to find coins that were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were accidentally struck on metal blanks intended for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin. These error coins are extremely rare and can sell for astonishing prices when authenticated by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Another fascinating detail about the 1982 Washington quarter is the absence of the P mint mark on some Philadelphia coins. While it was standard for the mint to add the P mark starting in 1980, certain dies in 1982 were mistakenly produced without it. These no mint mark varieties can be especially valuable in higher grades. So, if you find a 1982 quarter without any mint mark, it's definitely worth a second look. Now, let's dig a little deeper into how you can spot valuable examples of the 1982 quarter in your own collection. Start by examining the coin's overall condition. If it still has its original mint luster with no signs of wear, scratches, or dullness, you might be holding a gem. Next, check the edges. The 1982 quarter should have a visible copper core when viewed from the side, since it's made of a copper-nickel clad composition. However, some error coins might show different coloration or metal exposure due to minting mistakes. Look closely at the details on Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers, and the lettering. Sharp details and no flattening are signs of a strong strike and well-preserved coin. Under magnification, check for doubling in the inscriptions or date. If you spot any, your coin could be an extremely rare variety. Also, weigh the coin if you can. Standard clad quarters should weigh about 5.67 grams. Any major deviation might indicate a wrong planchet or minting anomaly, which collectors pay big money for. Let's also not forget about the proof-like strikes. Even though the mint didn't release proof sets in 1982, some coins struck early in the die's life cycle came out with highly reflective, mirror-like surfaces, resembling proofs. These are rare and beautiful finds that fetch premium prices among collectors. Now imagine this: you're going through a pile of loose change, maybe from an old jar or a family collection, and suddenly you notice an older quarter. You look closer, it's from 1982. The surface still shines, the details look sharp, and there's something unusual about it. Maybe a faint doubling, maybe a missing mint mark, or maybe it just feels heavier than usual. You decide to check online or send it for grading, and soon, you realize that you've stumbled upon a treasure worth far more than you ever expected. That's how countless rare coin discoveries happen, by sheer luck, curiosity, and the willingness to take a closer look. Over the years, collectors have reported rare 1982 quarters selling for impressive prices at auctions. In particular, coins with remarkable preservation, full details, and unique minting characteristics have reached record-breaking values. For a coin that was never supposed to be anything more than spare change, the 1982 quarter has earned a place among the most fascinating pieces of modern U.S. coinage. So before you spend that old 1982 quarter, make sure you give it a careful inspection. Who knows, you might be holding something that could change your life or at least add a thrilling piece to your collection. Because one rare 1982 Washington $quarter coin was once sold for an astonishing $104,000. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most interesting and collectible coins in modern U.S. coinage, the United States of America Washington $quarter coin from 1995. It's a coin that many people have seen or spent without a second thought, yet for coin collectors, this small silver-colored piece can hold a big surprise. You might not believe it now, but some of these 1995 quarters have shocked collectors and sold for incredible prices. So stay tuned till the end, because you won't want to miss the amazing value one of these rare coins reached. The Washington quarter is a coin that carries almost a century of American tradition. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, it replaced the standing Liberty quarter and quickly became one of the most recognizable coins in circulation. The obverse side features the iconic profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty boldly displayed across the top and the national motto, "In God We Trust," positioned to the left. The date, in this case, 1995, sits right below Washington's neck, reminding us of a time when the U.S. Mint was undergoing important changes in coin design and production. By 1995, the Washington quarter had already seen decades of evolution. The coins from this year were minted primarily in two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The coins from Philadelphia carry the letter P as their mint mark, while those from Denver have the letter D. There were also a smaller number of special proof coins made at the San Francisco Mint, identified by the S mint mark, which were struck with extra care for collectors and included in special proof sets. However, while millions of 1995 quarters were produced for general circulation, the real treasures lie in the tiny details that most people overlook. At first glance, the 1995 Washington quarter may seem ordinary, but when you examine it closely, you begin to notice the craftsmanship, history, and subtle differences that make certain pieces far more valuable than others. The reverse design, which remained consistent since the coin's early years, features a powerful American eagle standing proudly with its wings spread wide, clutching a bundle of arrows symbolizing defense, while olive branches beneath it represent peace. It's a design that embodies American pride and resilience, something that collectors and historians have admired for generations. What makes the 1995 quarter stand out, however, are the small but significant variations and errors that occurred during its production. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins that year, and with such high volumes, minor imperfections were inevitable. For collectors, these imperfections are golden opportunities. Some of the most valuable 1995 Washington quarters feature double die errors, where elements of the design, such as the lettering in Liberty or the numbers in the date, appear slightly doubled. This happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions, leaving behind a fascinating and collectible error. A coin with a strong double die can turn a 25-cent piece into something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Another fascinating type of error from this year includes off-center strikes, where the design of the coin is visibly misaligned, sometimes showing blank areas where the image should be. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin tends to be, especially if all the key details like the date and mint mark remain visible. There are also rare examples of planchet errors, where a coin is struck on a metal blank intended for a different denomination, such as a dime. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare and can make a coin worth many times its face value, but even among normal, well-struck coins, condition plays a massive role in determining value. Most of the 1995 quarters circulated heavily, meaning they show signs of wear, scratches, or fading from years of handling. Coins like these might only be worth face value unless they have a major minting error. However, coins that were preserved in uncirculated or mint state condition are an entirely different story. If your 1995 quarter has never been used, shows bright luster, and has no visible wear on Washington's cheek, hair, or the eagle's feathers, you could be holding something rare. Collectors and professional graders use a system known as the Sheldon scale, which rates coins from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS 60 or above is considered mint state, while those reaching MS 65 or higher are considered gem quality. The difference in value between an MS 63 and an MS 67 coin can be staggering. Finding a 1995 Washington quarter in pristine, untouched condition is not easy, since so few were preserved that way, but when one does appear, it often becomes a highlight in any coin collection. Now, let's talk about proof coins for a moment. Proof 1995 quarters were struck at the San Francisco Mint, and they are easy to identify by their S mint mark and mirror-like surfaces. These proof coins were made using polished dies and specially treated blanks, giving them a reflective finish and crisp, sharp details. While proof coins are common among collectors, certain proof errors, such as double strikes or variations in frosting on the design, can make them incredibly valuable. A flawless proof 1995 S Washington quarter graded PR 70 by professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC can command impressive prices at auctions. One of the most intriguing aspects of coin collecting is the thrill of discovery. You never know when an ordinary coin could turn out to be something extraordinary. There have been instances where collectors have found valuable 1995 quarters in pocket change, coin rolls, or old family jars. All it takes is a careful eye and a bit of curiosity. If you ever come across a 1995 quarter, take a moment to examine it under a magnifying glass or good lighting. Look for doubling in the inscriptions, unusual edges, off-center designs, or any other irregularities that make your coin unique. It's also worth paying attention to the overall color and toning of the coin. Natural toning, where the metal's surface develops colorful patterns over time, can sometimes increase a coin's appeal and value, especially if it occurs evenly and enhances the design. However, artificial toning or cleaning can harm the value, so collectors always recommend keeping your coins in their natural state. Over the years, some exceptional 1995 quarters have been graded and auctioned for incredible amounts of money. These coins stand out because of their exceptional preservation, unique minting characteristics, or rare error types. Many of them have been sold to dedicated collectors who understand just how hard it is to find such pristine examples from this particular year. So before you spend that quarter you found in your drawer, take a closer look. It might be just another piece of change, or it might be a tiny piece of American history worth far more than 25 cents. The 1995 Washington $quarter coin reminds us that sometimes the most ordinary things can hide extraordinary value. The Washington $quarter coin from 1979 is one of those coins that might look completely ordinary at first glance but hides a story that could surprise even the most experienced coin collectors. Imagine holding a small piece of American history that has traveled through time, passed through countless hands, and may now be sitting quietly in your change jar, completely unaware that it could be worth a fortune. Yes, the 1979 Washington $quarter might just be one of those hidden treasures waiting to be discovered by someone who truly understands its value. Let's journey back to the late 1970s, a period full of change and innovation across the United States. In 1979, the U.S. Mint continued producing the Washington quarter, a coin that had been part of American coinage since 1932, originally designed by sculptor John Flanagan to honor the first President of the United States, George Washington. This coin carried the same proud image of Washington on the obverse, facing left, with the word "Liberty" arched above and the national motto, "In God We Trust," just beside his profile. The reverse featured the majestic eagle with its wings spread wide, a symbol of strength and freedom, perched on a bundle of arrows and encircled by olive branches, representing America's readiness for both peace and defense. Now, the year 1979 was an interesting one for U.S. coinage. While the Mint was busy launching the Susan B. Anthony dollar, a coin that was meant to replace the Eisenhower dollar, it also continued to produce quarters at a steady rate. Quarters were struck at three main locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint left its own mark on the coin, the letter D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and no mint mark for those made in Philadelphia. Though millions of 1979 Washington quarters were minted, not all of them were created equal. Some coins came out of the presses with tiny differences, striking errors, or unique features that make them stand out. These rare variations are the reason why coin collectors and treasure hunters still keep an eye on every 1979 quarter that passes through their hands. For example, some coins have been found with double die errors, where certain parts of the design, like the date or the word Liberty, appear slightly doubled. Others may have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or weakly struck areas that give them distinctive looks. The composition of the 1979 Washington quarter also plays a key role in its appeal. By this time, the mint had long transitioned from using 90% silver to a copper-nickel clad composition, which included layers of copper and nickel around a solid copper core. However, that doesn't mean these coins can't be valuable. In fact, some 1979 quarters made for proof sets, especially those minted in San Francisco, can fetch impressive prices if they have mirror-like surfaces, frosted details, and pristine condition. A flawless proof coin with a deep cameo finish can easily stand out at auctions and coin shows. Collectors often look for what's known as a high-grade 1979 Washington quarter, one that has been well preserved with sharp details and minimal wear. These coins might never have entered circulation, remaining as brilliant as the day they were minted. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC often certify these coins, assigning them a numerical grade. The higher the grade, the higher the value, and that's where things start to get exciting. It's worth noting that many people unknowingly spend rare and valuable coins every day, simply because they don't realize what they have. A small scratch, a minting error, or even a slightly different appearance in the lettering can make a massive difference in a coin's worth. That's why collectors advise everyone to check their change carefully, examine their old coin jars, and pay attention to the year and mint mark. You never know when you might come across something truly special. For example, a 1979 Washington quarter in ordinary circulated condition might only be worth its face value of 25 cents. But when a coin is in mint state condition or has a rare minting error, its value can skyrocket dramatically. There are stories of lucky individuals discovering rare error coins in their loose change and later finding out they were worth thousands. Imagine the excitement of realizing a coin you've had for years could pay for an entire vacation or more. Now, let's talk about what makes a 1979 Washington quarter truly valuable. One of the key factors is the strike quality. Quarters that were struck with extra pressure or sharper dies tend to have more defined details on Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers, and the lettering. Another factor is the presence of unique mint errors, like off-center strikes, double dies, or die cracks. Some of these rare pieces become the stars of major auctions, with collectors willing to pay high premiums to own them. Beyond that, the historical context adds a layer of charm. The late 1970s marked the end of an era before the State Quarters series began in 1999. The classic Eagle Reverse, which had appeared for decades, was nearing its retirement. That makes the 1979 issue part of the final generation of traditional Washington quarters before America's coin design started to change more frequently. When you hold a 1979 Washington quarter, you're not just holding a piece of metal, you're holding a story, a reflection of the craftsmanship of its time, and a symbol of American heritage. Whether you're a beginner collector or a seasoned numismatist, finding a pristine example of this coin is a thrill like no other. The fine details, the luster, and the history all come together to make it an extraordinary piece of U.S. currency. So, the next time you come across a Washington quarter from 1979, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Examine the edges, the date, the mint mark, and even the tiny details on the eagle's feathers. That seemingly ordinary coin in your hand could be a hidden gem worth more than you ever imagined. Some of these coins have stunned experts with their rarity and condition, commanding astonishing prices in the collector's market, and now comes the part that will truly make you want to check your coins right away. Among these rare and valuable coins, one particular 1979 Washington $quarter coin was recently discovered in remarkable condition with a rare minting characteristic that set it apart from the rest. When it appeared at auction, it left everyone speechless. The bidding quickly soared, and the final hammer price shocked even the experts. The rare 1979 Washington $quarter coin sold for an unbelievable $195,300.